This is A's Cast Live, your comprehensive look at the Oakland Athletics.
Rooker, it's a 5 on a deep center. Robert going back at the track. He will turn and watch it fly.
And 29 other MLB clubs.
Adolis Garcia sends one the other way. That sends Carroll back. He's at the line. Ronald Acuna, another milestone in a truly historic season.
Julio with an absolute nuke out to left field.
It's Glaber Day. And like a good Glaber, Torres is there.
Join us as we take you inside the baseball universe. From humidors to Stuff Plus to walk-off dingers, we have you covered. Spend your afternoon with us, only on A's Cast Live. Here's Chris Townsend.
Good morning, everybody, and welcome to another edition of A's Cast Live, the final one of this week. We will not be here this weekend. A's Cast Live, Cactus League edition is just Monday through Friday. We'll be back on Monday, a day off on Tuesday, a day off, spring training.
I think there's two. It's next Tuesday, and then there's one like later in the month of March and on the 21st. So 2 off days, I believe, in spring training. And then, the season's right around the corner. The 28th of March, I believe, is opening day at the Coliseum. So it's almost here. We're in March now, which is also known as birthday month for one of us.
Ooh. So you have to bring that up?
I'm just letting, hey, we're looking ahead.
Send all your birthday gifts for moi to the A's offices. I will appreciate that. I am not one that worries about dates and age. Not worried about it. People freak out about it. I don't.
My wife was really paranoid when she turned 35. I was like, hey, I have a couple gray hairs now. It means I'm aging and I'm getting wiser.
I mean, it's like, it is what it is, right? I mean, it's the evolution of life is what it is.
Yeah, that's fair.
And you're going to go through it. And I know in my household, when my twins graduate from high school this year, and if any of you are longtime fans of the show or follow my career, and I've always talked a lot about my kids, you'll be like, what? The twins are, whenever I tell people that, they go, they're graduating from high school? Uh-huh. The twins are graduating from high school. I mean, years ago on my talk show, I had a very popular segment called Townsend Twin Jokes, if you remember back on 95.7 The Game. Yeah, they're all grown up, going to be going to college. It's the cycle of life, my friend. It happens. So this March, is going to be my birthday. And already, same thing happens where my wife's telling me, I told her, this is what I want. Oh, I already got you something. Have you ever thought when I tell you Christmas or my birthday of what I want, you may once ever just get exactly what I want? Have you ever thought about that? So then I don't have to go buy what I want. You can make it a gift. And then I have to act like, oh, this is great.
Yeah.
Another fancy, like I've gotten a wallet multiple times, and she buys these fancy. They're like these. There's all these new fancy wallets that you can see on Instagram. And they end up being crap.
I mean, I like the wallet you have now. Seems like it works well.
Oh, because you can track it. And I could have a rubber band.
Oh,
I could survive with a rubber band around my credit cards and a little bit of cash and a ID. That's all I need.
Cash, while you're really aging yourself here.
Well, I'm not you guys. Well, what are you going to do when you gamble and golf? What are you going to do? I'm going to Venmo you? No, guys want cash.
Venmo works too.
Guys want cash.
I don't have to worry about money. Never changes actual physical hands, and you don't have to worry about COVID and dirty money. And
in the world of gambling, people want cash. They don't want to hear about your Venmo. They want the green right now, and I want the green right now. So you got to have a little cash on you, Cody. You travel with zero cash?
Majority of the time, yes. My wife usually will have like a 20 or something in case we ever need it.
So your wife will have cash, but you won't?
Yes. That this makes my wallet.
Do you ever think there's a problem?
No, makes my wallet bulkier.
A $20 bill makes your wallet?
Every place accepts Venmo, credit cards, Apple Pay. I'm good. Never had a problem with it yet. there will be a time where I will go somewhere and they don't take it. And I'll be like, honey, I need you to pay.
You'll go into this hole in the wall. There it says, this restaurant's the best. You go cash only. And you're like, I can't Venmo you.
There's one spot that I only ever have cash for. There's a bar in downtown San Jose called, wait for it, cash only, that takes only cash. So we'll have cash.
What do you do?
I'll get cash out for that. There's a B of A right around the corner.
What if you're in a desperate need and your card didn't work, or whatever the process is down? Like, let's say the as we experienced at Camelback Ranch. Yes, we were at a $121 million facility, Camelback Ranch, home of the Dodgers and the White Sox, and their Wi-Fi didn't work. Well, if their Wi-Fi and their internet's working at the business, they can't take your card.
It's true, but
what do you do?
There are a lot of people in my age group that don't carry cash. I know it's just
there's a lot of things people of your age group do that you go,
Yeah, that's the way the world is now.
Sitting around playing video games all day long isn't probably the most productive thing either.
Probably not. No, that's why I don't do it as much anymore.
You've cut back?
I've cut back. Well, my wife works. I need something to do, so that's what I do. It's better than going out boozing.
All right, what do we got today?
We're going to have Jake Eisenberg, the voice of the Royals, on the radio, talk about the Royals, who signed literally everyone this offseason, it seemed like.
Oh, man.
Every Padre they have.
Lugo, Waka, Will Smith. And I know we talked about this a while ago, and, he played for the Giants, so he was been in the Bay Area. Will Smith has won the World Series the last 3 years on 3 different teams. No one's ever done that in the history of baseball.
No, so essentially he's looking to be the guy to do it 4 times in a row.
Isn't that incredible? 3 straight years you've won the World Series. 3 different franchises. I mean, you can't make that up.
It's pretty remarkable.
How lucky. I mean, I want to touch him and be like, man, you're the luckiest SOB I know.
So what was it? Braves, Astros, Rangers, right?
Yep.
Yeah. It's pretty impressive.
That's incredible.
He joined I remember when the Astros got him, they were like, wow, they finally have a left-handed reliever in their bullpen, because they didn't have one for the longest time, and they picked
had
him
nobody,
up.
Yeah.
Now he's going to try to win another. I don't think it's going to happen this year, but
you don't think the Royals? So I was going over my Know Your Royals. Do we have Know Your Royals for Johnny today?
Oh, we got some good ones.
Now I have said this, and I do mean it, and I don't want to upset any old A's fans who remember when the Kansas City Royals were in the division. But my favorite player all time is George Brett.
Nice little player.
I loved me some George Brett. Obviously, there's the affinity for third base and MVP. My grandfather was the first third baseman ever to be the MVP. George knows who my grandfather is. There's been an interaction between my family and him, and I grew up a huge George Brett fan. And if you look, I mean, he's truly one of the great players of all time. Look at what he did in the regular season. Look what he did in the postseason, back when the Royals were always in the postseason. And you go through the history book of the Kansas City Royals, everything's George Brett. Yeah. Everything. Hits, dingers, RBIs, doubles, triples, you name it. It's all George Brett. So Know Your Royals is going to be hard, because I'm sure you didn't have any of George Brett on the questions.
I think I had one. I have it right here in front of me. The only answer for George Brett, maybe I didn't have any George Brett. Yeah, I have the most home runs in Royals history, but you know what I might do? I am Chris Townsend's favorite player of all time.
Who's the only player to win a batting title in 3 different decades?
Oh, that's a good one. Let me change that. I won 3 batting titles in 3 different. Okay.
But you know what's crazy is that as great as George Brett was, first ballot Hall of Famer, everybody respects George as one of the best players. I mean, he's George Brett had an incredible career. Still not the best third baseman of his era.
Yeah. Well, we got Michael Jack Schmidt.
Michael Jack Schmidt, who led the National League in dingers 8 times.
He was a pretty good player too.
8 times. I mean, Mike Schmidt defensively is one of the great third basemen of all time. And then you throw in, he led the league. I mean, how many guys even play 8 years? He led the league 8 times in home runs. Truly incredible. There's a good run of third baseman for many, many years. Has Matt Chapman signed yet?
No, not that I've seen. That's why I pulled up the old. Now we call it used to be TweetDeck. Now we call it X Pro for Twitter. And I try to just follow this. Nothing on Chapman. I guess John Heyman had in his piece earlier today. My friend sent it to me that he thinks the Giants land both Chapman and Snell, and the Rangers get Montgomery and JD Martinez. So the Boris 4 sign with 2 teams.
The Giants signed Chapman and Snell. Well, we're starting the show out today. Did you do everybody that's coming on?
Yes, I did. Jake Eisenberg, Roy Radio Play-by-Play, and then we have Johnny.
What time's he?
11:30. So we got plenty of time.
So that kind of leads us into the article that we want to get into today that I find, and I've done my due diligence. We waited till today because I sent this article to a couple people that I know in baseball who work in the pitching department, and everybody loves it. This is another one of the rules that baseball could implement that is against front offices. Oh, before we do that, I got to play a couple things. 2 days ago, I am sorry. I jumped the gun. 2 things. If you've been paying attention, listening to the past 2 days, it's been Vince and Johnny, correct?
Correct, yes.
These 2 things have happened, and as A's fans, you have to love what you are hearing. 2 days ago, the show ended, and, you get an update on every single time the A's score on your phone. We got off the air, walked into my kitchen, and then bang, this hit.
16 homers, 54 driven in last year. He's a left-hand batter. He swings and sends one into the gap in left center field. Chasing Matos back, still going toward the track at the wall. And that one is up on the berm, and it is gone. An opposite field blast for Ryan Noda, and a 1-0 Oakland lead.
So that was 2 days ago. Ryan Noda goes deep, played yesterday.
Who is – Johnny has brought this to us, the pick to click.
That's right.
Who did that? What did some team do the pick to click?
I don't know. Johnny just brought it up yesterday. Pick to click. I'm like, Johnny, you have to do this every day now.
Maybe this was the River Cats. Who is my pick to click for the All-Star game?
Ryan Noda.
I don't think I'm that far off.
He's hitting leadoff too, which is even more remarkable. First baseman hitting leadoff.
I mean, if you go back to last year and you look at the numbers and what Ryan Noda, remember he broke his jaw. We talked to him about it as I got to meet the A's dentist down at fantasy camp. You just look at Ryan Noda and say, if he improves on what he did, and it just goes to show the way the media world is working now, that we're not going to talk about the actual team. We're not going to talk about the players. But you're talking about a guy who finished with a 364 on base percentage. And it was a lot higher than that. 16 home runs, 54 RBIs. Now, he only hit 229, but okay, let's say he hits 250 and now has 25 plus home runs. And he's sniffing 100 RBIs. And that OPS is now sitting at 850 or higher. What Ryan Noda could be this year. And he looks at spring training when he came out and we saw him and he sat there. And when I saw him in a couple games, he's put on a little muscle mass, as some players can do. Not the crazy Bonds, Lenny Dykstra, where they go away for a few months and they come back and look like a different human being. Not that. Mark McGwire. I saw this picture of Mark McGwire with his shirt off. I don't remember what year it was, but there was like no real definition in his arms. There's no like, and then you like show the picture of him in St. Louis. You're like, come on, man.
I remember when
it's like a different human being.
I remember when I don't remember watching him, but I remember seeing like baseball cards and photos of McGwire when he first came up, when he came out of college and playing on Team USA and played for the A's in the 80s. He was nothing like he was 10 years later. You just look at him like how he was small then, and then he progressively got bigger than St. Louis. He looks like Arnold Schwarzenegger.
He's just a mountain of a man. right? He looks like a defensive tackle. Here's a great example. Also with Mark McGwire on Team USA was Will Clark. If you take a picture of Will Clark out of Mississippi State playing for the Olympic team, you got Mark McGwire out of USC playing for the Olympic team. And then, as you said, 10 years later, you look at a photo of Will Clark. Will Clark looks just a little older. Mark McGwire looks like a different person. Like Bonds as a young Pirate, Bonds as an older man hitting 73 home runs, like not even the same dude. Sammy Sosa as a young White Sox, or else it's Ranger.
Yeah.
Yeah, because he was a White Sox too before the
Cubs, yeah.
And then you look at him running out to right field with the American flag, and he looks like a free safety. I mean, I'm not hating on him. I put him all in the Hall of Fame. I've said it. McGwire should be in the Hall. I mean, Bonds and Clemens, for God's sakes, not being in the Hall of Fame is a joke.
Sosa 3 straight years of hitting 60 hard.
Sosa should be in. McGwire should be in. Palmeiro, 500 home runs, 3,000 hits. Put them all in. This is a joke. But back to Ryan Noda. He has the makings. I mean, you like certain numbers. You like OPS plus, right?
Yeah.
His OPS plus was 122.
Remember, league average is 100 for everyone who doesn't know.
122. 121. I mean, you just add more home runs, and that vaults up. It's a numbers game. It's a game of math. All right, so that was 2 days ago. That was great to see. And then if this doesn't float your boat, I don't know what will.
Swung on, lifted to right field down the line. Mitchell giving chase on the track, back at the wall, reaching for the wall, looks up, and for the second straight day, Zach Gelof has gone opposite field with a first-inning home run. It's the A's 10th of the spring, and it's 1-0 Athletics.
That's back-to-back games for Zachy Gelof.
Well, the thing for him is how do you mentally deal with the expectations? Because he came up and played so well. I saw that you put on Instagram, on the A's Cast Live Instagram account, or part of our interview where I say to him, I got to come for you. And he goes, yeah, to hear it every day.
Every freaking day, actually.
Yeah. I mean, there's expectations. And that's where we see guys, whether they come up mid-season or they just have a great rookie year, and then now people expect you to do it again. And it happens in all sports, right? You come out and you have early success, and then people expect you to be even better. Now what happens is you don't change physically. You're still the same guy physically. It's now the mental side of the game of you start putting extra pressure on yourself. You have expectations, and sometimes guys get swallowed up by that. So the question is, how does Zach Gelof, who showed everything, hit for power, hit to all fields, can run, can field. Zach Gelof showed that he can do everything in the game. How does he manage the expectations, and how does he live up to what we think he can be, which is an elite player? He has the skill set to be an elite player in Major League Baseball.
So I'm looking at Fangraphs. They do projections a lot of the time ahead of a lot of people for players this year. So we talked about Ryan Noda a few minutes ago.
Which, by the way, all of this means absolutely nothing.
But they have
nothing. It's like you going into a bar that's cash only and you have no cash. This means nothing.
But looking ahead, just to give, kind of an idea what people think of these guys like Noda. So they have Noda hitting 18 home runs and having an on-base percentage of .335.
Wait a minute. They have Ryan Noda hitting only 2 more home runs and dropping from 364 to what?
335. Oh, they have him hitting 211 on the season.
Screenshot that and let's go back and remember these numbers. Screenshot that.
I will right now. And then the other one they have here is Zach Gelof. They have him hitting 19 home runs, stealing 21 bags, so essentially being a 20-20 guy, and hitting 237. I don't know. I don't see either of those happening. And his on-base percentage is .308.
What do they got dingers for Rooker after he hit 30?
27.
Okay. What do they got for Brownie?
21. Langolier, 17. JJ Bleday,
There's
16.
I wish I could bet Fangraphs. We can't bet as Major League Baseball employees. I bet Shea Langoliers, I almost called him Seth Langoliers. Shea Langoliers, it's more than 17 home runs. I'll bet Fangraphs that right now.
They also have this is a little surprising.
Where they got steals for old Esty.
51, and they have him being the best.
Come on.
And they have him being the best hitter on the team average-wise for, the amount of at-bats he'll have at 249.
They got him at how many steals?
51. They're assuming he's not going to play every day, probably. And then if you look at the bench guys, they have Tyler Soderstrom hitting 13 home runs. I'd take that.
Who do they have playing third?
Third, they have, as of right now, they have Abraham Toro hitting 244 with 9 home runs. Hey, Nick Allen, 241. I'll take that.
JJ Bleday.
16 home runs.
Okay.
213 average.
JJ Bleday.
And then they like Miguel Andujar to have a 410 slug. That's pretty good.
All right, so I just want to play those for you. Those are good signs from spring training. Obviously, the games mean nothing. I know you like to you like to see the team win some games, and the A's have. Have the Giants, are they still winless in spring training?
That's correct. I didn't win again yesterday.
You know what that means?
Nothing.
Nothing. If you're undefeated right now, you know what that means?
Nothing.
Nothing.
Hembo yesterday, we're going to have Hembo next week. Hembo on Baseball
That's
Tonight.
Paul Hembekides from ESPN.
Told Buster Olney on the Baseball Tonight podcast that he likes the over 81.5 on the Giants this year. Then he went in to explain why, and he likes Lee, the kid they signed from Korea, playing center field. And the Buster goes, well, from what I'm hearing, he's not as good as everyone says, and they kind of overpaid for him.
But to be fair, you just don't know. He's a high contact guy. He's coming off an ankle injury. His numbers were down last year, but he could be fantastic. But even if he is, he's not a big power guy.
No, I don't feel like pulling up the roster research for what they have projected for him with the Giants, but be curious to see. There's going to be a learning curve for sure for him. I'm not saying he's going to come over and be Ichiro, but
do we have is Eisenberg ready to go?
Yeah, but we still have a couple minutes. So he waved hello in the great.
I thought you said 11:30.
Well,
are you going Arizona time?
I went 11:30 Arizona time. That's my fault. So 10:30 for us. Johnny's 11:30.
I had a dream last night that when do we switch time?
I think it's March 10th. So next Sunday is when we switch over.
So I was trying, I woke up, I'm like, what time's the show? Because now that we're back from spring training, and so I'm not going to have time to get into the whole the pitching thing.
Oh, we can get into it after we do everything with Jake. We still got 7 minutes before his scheduled time.
Well, so basically here, and we can ask him, because researching as we're doing the Know Your Royals, the Royals had a lot of the same issues that the A's had last year. They used a boatload of starters. Let's see, what was the amount? The amount of starters that they used, I think they used like 23. Yeah, we used 24 starters last year, the A's. They used 23. Now, we're going to talk about Waka, and we'll talk about Lugo and the guys that they signed. We mentioned Will Smith a little bit earlier, but yeah, this whole deal that baseball is going to – we have seen consistency when baseball floats stuff out, it ends up happening, right? The pitch clock got floated out. Bigger bags got floated out. The pickoff move got floated out. Not everything yet, because it's going to take time before we have the automated strike zone. But, the deal is when they start floating this stuff out, and the automated strike zone's hard, right? This is hard. You got umpires union. When this is stuff that baseball can just look at the players union and say, we're changing and play, and it's going to happen. But taking the pitching staff from 13 to 12. So I started this whole thing out before we went to the home runs about how I threw out some text with the article to some people that are in pitching in Major League Baseball, and they all loved it. Now, who doesn't love it is basically what baseball has been doing is they have been basically making rules that go against what the front offices want to do. Like they're forcing the front offices to change how they use their roster. And especially with pitching. Because as we know, and even our organization, they're all like this. They're infatuated with bullpen and power arms. We know for a fact that as our own general manager once told me, I got to get over it. Remember that?
Yeah.
Where I'm like, come on, man, but you got to get over it. Well, maybe I don't. Maybe I don't have to get over it. Maybe the reality is baseball's thinking like I am. This is a joke. And that we have to retrain our pitchers what the task is. Because our brains, not that we talk so much in baseball terms and in sports terms, that we talk neck down, right? We're so worried about the body. When the reality is so much, everybody's got the skill, it's from the neck up that creates great players. And our brain is a taskmaster. If you give when your brain has a task that it has to achieve, it figures out the best possible way to do that. And that happens. Now, neuroscience and all this is way above my level, obviously. I'm sitting next to you. I'm not a brain surgeon or I've studied the brain or whatever, but I've read into this and it applies to athletics. When your brain is a taskmaster, it has a task. Your brain will do everything it can to get that task done and to do it the best possible, most efficient way. That's how human beings work. I'll give you some examples in sports. Years ago, there was no three-point line. And all of a sudden, they developed a three-point line. And they had this three-point line in the NBA. And most guys didn't shoot it. It was very rarely used. Even some of the greatest players, shooters, they'd maybe shoot 2 times a game. Well, human beings evolved, and the task was, if you make this shot versus a shot inside the three-point line, it's 3 versus 2. It's a game of math. So now what happens? We have record amounts of 3 points, of three-pointers made in NBA games. Because the task was, figure this out. Figure out how to shoot from beyond this three-point line, and now we have 7-footers shoot three-pointers. Humans adjusted, not because of their physical. Kevin Durant didn't change physically. I mean, Kevin Durant, as we got to see with Golden State, the task was shoot from further back, shoot behind this line. They figure it out.
It's funny you bring up the NBA too. I didn't get a chance to read all of it, but I saw it on Instagram, I think yesterday. It might have been ESPN or SportsCenter shared it on Instagram, that they're going to maybe look into changing the offensive rules in the NBA because the scoring is way too high. Like 10 years, I think it was 10 years ago, scoring was like 100 points a game per team. This year, it's
no.
It's 115. I'm like,
the last time every single NBA team averaged 100 points was in the 80s.
Oh, well, what
100 points.
I'd have to find it, but like right now, the teams are averaging 115 points per game.
Yeah, well, they figured it out, right? It's like running backs back in the day. When you had these guys, remember people tried to criticize Franco Harris for running out of bounds? He was going to carry the ball over 30 times a game. Eric Dickerson, the same thing. It's like people want to criticize. Why don't they take the hits? Well, because they knew if I'm going to carry the ball 30-something times, I can't be taking mass hit after mass hit after mass hit. Look how it destroyed Earl Campbell. You had to be smart. You had to avoid the big hits.
Now only one guy does it in the NFL, and it's Derrick Henry.
And think about golf. Golfers are hitting the ball. Some guys are able, when they grip it and rip it, they're hitting it 340.
My guy Bryson.
340 yards. At last year's U.S. Open, there on the first tee, Rory McIlroy would hit a drive 370 yards because we figured out as human beings, what's the task? Hit the ball further, score lower. Technology helps, and that's what it happens in all sports. So what we need to do is train starting pitchers, and I can't tell you how many times I've done, I do TV for NBC with Dave Stewart, where Dave Stewart will tell you, I went out there to pitch 9 innings. That was the task. Now pitchers don't have that task. Now it's go out, blow as hard as you can, and if you get in trouble, we got somebody warming up in the 4th inning. Well, if this rule is implemented to where you've got to go 6, you got to get 18 outs. And that's what we'll get more into this article where it talks about the average amount of outs has changed in baseball for starting pitchers. Big league starters last year averaged 15.4 and 85 and a third and 81.1 pitches per game. That's pathetic. We need to retrain. Listen, every 5 days you get the ball, you're going 6. And there's going to be some bumps in the road where you're going to have to say, listen, you're going to have to wear it. Because if we take it from 13 to 12, I mean, Ray Fosse used to tell us all the time when they won the World Series against the Dodgers, they used 7 pitchers. Now, we go, the game's changed. Well, once again, this is where baseball is coming back in. Whether we're talking pitch clock, we're talking bigger bags, we're talking no shifting, we're talking the pickoff rule. Yeah, well, they want to change the game to be played a certain way, and these rules have worked. And maybe, just maybe, if we go from 13 to 12, we can't have these front offices be so bullpen happy, and they have to realize we've got to retrain not only our big league guys, but we got to retrain our minor league guys. As we've told you on this program, we've been looking at the Dodgers. And you go to the lower level of the Dodgers, their pitchers don't pitch more than 2 innings. Doesn't matter who you are. You could be a bonus baby. Maybe you go 3. Like, you got to stop. You got to train guys, A ball, double A. Listen, you've got it. When you go out there, you're going 6. I joke all the time. I just did fantasy camp with Baseball Hall of Famer Raleigh Fingers. Raleigh Fingers, to make the club back in the day. Now, he's one of the greatest relievers of all time, but this one, Raleigh was a starter. Raleigh Fingers threw a complete game in spring training, and that helped him make the team. Now, I know that's not going to happen again, but we need to retrain our athletes. It's not from the neck down. It's from the neck up. Listen, you're going out every 5 days and going 3 1/3, 4 1/3. That's not acceptable. You've got to go out there and get me 18 outs. For example, 2022, it was 15.6 outs starters averaged. 2015, it was 17.4. In 2000, I mean, I know it's 24 years ago, but it was 17.8, about 6 innings. The complete game could be dead, but they got to change that. Jake, ready?
Yeah. Oh, Johnny's there with him. Let's add him right now. All right. They're talking. Okay, here we go.
I brought a special guest. Is that okay?
Well, at least we got, oh my God. At least we got one good-looking broadcaster.
He can't hear you, but I'll give him credit. He's the good-looking one. But there's a reason. There's a reason we're both radio guys.
Well, there's a reason he's a radio guy. I could put you on TV. Him, not so much.
I'll let him give you some comebacks when he hops on with you later.
How well do you know Johnny?
So Johnny and I have sort of known each other, I would say, for, I guess it's going on 4 or 5 years, because back in 2019, I was one of the broadcasters for the Richmond Flying Squirrels, which was the AA Giants affiliate when Doskow was over in Sacramento. He was the AAA broadcaster. So we talked a little bit that season with guys getting sent up and sent down and what's all. But we didn't actually meet in person until last year, until last spring training, when we met here in Surprise when the A's came over for one of those games. And but he's the best of the best.
I gotta say, it's not easy when you replace somebody who's really, really popular. And Steve Physiak is someone, I'm becoming one of the old guys now. I go back to him with the Angels, and then you think about with the Royals. I mean, the Fizz being from Kansas City. What was that like? You're replacing somebody who was a terrific, one of the great broadcasters, and he had such a great career.
And he couldn't have been more gracious in welcoming me. Got a phone call from him when everything was announced, and he and his wife Stacey are doing great. They're out in Colorado now. And it was a sort of thing where I think had I been coming from pretty much anywhere other than where I was coming from, I think it would have been a little bit more challenging. But there was such a stroke of luck that I had being the broadcaster with the Omaha Storm Chasers for 2 years before I joined the Royals. and being within the Royals organization to begin with. And not for nothing, pretty much every guy that was taking the field for the Royals over the last couple of years, 2022, 2023, and certainly this year too, those are guys that had come up through Omaha and come up through Warner Park that I had gotten to know pretty well as the AAA broadcaster there. So that made the transition just about as seamless as it could be.
Oh, that's huge for you. Like, you walk into the clubhouse and I mean, I don't know if you had beers with all these guys or you had meals, but instead of being like, "Who's this guy? We don't know," that had to be huge.
Exactly. It wasn't. Hey, nice to meet you. I'm Jake, the new guy. It was like, hey, good to see you again. I mean, we shared the bus rides to St. Paul and Des Moines and the flights to Indianapolis and stuff like that. I was talking to a couple people the other day. When we were talking about Bobby Witt Jr. and the massive extension that he signed. How surreal it was. To have met him when he made his AAA debut in 2021 and to have called his first AAA homer and then called his first big league homer by a stroke of luck that I was filling in that day, and to now see the superstar that he's become now. But not just Bobby, but to be able to follow these guys like that and have some of the shared experiences, I think that makes this particular job at this particular time really, really special.
Well, I tell people all the time, when you travel in professional sports, I say Kansas City's I used to work for the Oakland Raiders, and of course we played the Kansas City Chiefs every single year. And I'm like, yeah, they'd rip you during the game, but after the game, they're the nicest fan base. I mean, it's Kansas City, a special town. If you love barbecue, great museums, all the fountains and everything, but really the people in Kansas City, and I'm sure they welcomed you with open arms.
Oh, people could not have been nicer. I mean, that's where we live now, and I probably like barbecue a little bit too much for my future health, but that seems to kind of come with the territory of trying to become and be a Kansas Citian.
Well, for me growing up, my favorite player was George Brett. And I got to see George a lot. I even went back to see him get inducted into the Hall of Fame with Robin Yount and Nolan Ryan. I'm a big George guy. Really, Gordon he was supposed to be the next George Brett, never lived up to that. But Bobby Witt Jr., as you just mentioned, this is the next George Brett. And when you watch him play, just watching him as we got to see him, you watch him warm up, you watch the BP, and you watch the game. This is a really special athlete, special player. You've watched him grow. Just talk about what Kansas City has there.
They have a face of the franchise. They have a superstar that's not just a superstar in Kansas City, but one of the best players in baseball. It was not like he was 7th in American League MVP voting last year. And I know that that's voting and the numbers don't always line up with that. But what he did last year, 30 home runs, 49 steals, especially the second half that he had. Second half of the season, he was in the conversation for one of the best position players in baseball. And had that first half been a little bit more consistent, he would have been firmly, I think, in the MVP conversation. I think the key with him is just starting as strong as he finished last year. But as far as what the Royals have, this dawned on me the other day when Bobby played his first spring game this year. And I'm looking down at the batter's box, and there's Bobby Witt Jr., pinwheeling the bat around. I think there are going to be kids in Kansas City mimicking that stance for a generation. But I was like, he's probably going to be the last guy in franchise history to wear number 7. I don't think anyone else is going to wear that jersey. And I realize that that's a lofty proclamation for a guy who's played 2 big league seasons. But when you have that kind of a superstar, plus the commitment to him, an 11-year extension that could be as long as 14 years, with the team option, I mean, that's the kind of player that you're talking about. You're talking about his number going up there with 5 and 10 and 20 and all the other retired numbers in Royals history. So I don't think that's such a far-fetched thing. And I think you couldn't have a more dynamic player to build around, but you also, I'm not sure you could find a better person to build around. He is so grounded and even keel and humble and driven. All of the things you could possibly want in your face of the franchise, he brings to the table.
Well, his power and speed is a combination that's just, you can't teach this. You can't go to Driveline and figure this one out. I mean, the combination of power and speed, his feet at shortstop, his athleticism, it's incredible.
He's already made 2 jaw-dropping defensive plays this spring. He literally played 2 games, made 1 play sliding on a knee to his right, and then like a jump throw to first, and then 2 days later made a diving stop on a one-hopper going to his left. And that might have been one thing that flew under the radar a little bit with him last year. He was massively improved defensively from his rookie year in 2022 to last year in 2023. I think sometimes people forget that his rookie season in 2022, I mean, here's a kid who's 3 years removed from playing shortstop in high school. And now he's fielding major league ground balls every single day. And also trying to figure out how to be a big leaguer and adult at the same time. And the step forward that he took last year, I mean, as far as Gold Glove snubs are concerned, he's at the top of the list. I'm not saying that he should have won it. I think that you can make a case that he could have won it, but he should have absolutely been a finalist. And that includes Michael Garcia at third base and Michael Massey at second base. That none of them were Gold Glove finalists was a pretty big shock to everybody in Kansas City, and certainly, Bobby.
All right, you lived the same nightmare we did last year. We used 24 different starting pitchers. You used 23. That is a recipe for absolute disaster. Before you were coming on, we're talking about how baseball is starting to float out. We changed from 13 pitchers to 12, trying to force these front offices to make starting pitchers go longer. In the offseason, Lugo and Waka coming over from the Padres. How much better are the Royals going to be from a starting staff position?
It's almost completely different. And I think when you look at the number of pitchers that the Royals used to start a game last year, there's a little caveat that you got to throw in there because the Royals employed an opener a lot. I mean, James MacArthur started a couple of games. That's a reliever. Steven Cruz started some games. Carlos Hernandez started some games. So there are some relievers that were starting games that added to that starting pitching total. But the reason the Royals employed openers to begin with.
It's the same thing with the Giants. And I know Giants people say that, but it's like, I don't care who you have a starter, and you need a starter to go. Right. If you want to live and die with the opener, by the way, the Rays were the one team that really made it work. No one else has really made it work. When you want to use a bunch of different guys, whether you want to call them starters or relievers, it just had that philosophy outside of Tampa hasn't worked.
It did. I'll say this. It did work to some degree in Kansas City last year because there was not a lot of depth in your true starting pitchers, and the openers that the Royals employed actually had far better numbers, in their opens than the starting pitching numbers over the course of the whole season. But as far as this year's concerned, I mean, the opening day starting rotation last year for the Royals was Zach Greinke, Brady Singer, Brad Keller, Jordan Lyles, and Chris Bubic. 3 of those 5 finished the season on the injured list. The only 2 that didn't were Zach Greinke and Jordan Lyles, who combined together for an ERA of nearly 6, which was not a great recipe for success. So what did the Royals do? They got Seth Lugo. That's going to shore up the rotation. They got Michael Waka. That's going to shore up the rotation. Oh, by the way, Colt Reagans is still here. He joined the Royals rotation in the second half, was arguably the best pitcher in the American League over the second half of the season. You guys saw it firsthand. He struck out 11 over 6 shutout innings at the Coliseum last August when he was en route to American League Pitcher of the Month. So you've got 3 guys already that weren't part of the opening day starting rotation last year. That also includes Brady Singer this year, who's hoping to have a bounce-back season. It's hard to imagine that Jordan Lyles couldn't have a bounce-back season given the way last year went. But you've also got so much more depth with Daniel Lynch now healthy and what he might be able to bring to the table. Alec Marsh is being stretched out as a starter. We saw flashes from Anthony Veneziano and Jonathan Bolin. They're expecting to have Chris Bubic back sometime in June or July. He had Tommy John surgery last year. So there's just a lot more depth, and there's also a lot more experience that it's not so much calling somebody up from AAA and seeing what happens. These are proven veteran starting pitchers, especially in Lugo and Waka, that are going to solidify this rotation. And I'd be surprised if we saw the opener deployed by the Royals this year the same way we did last year.
I tell you what, if I was there today, I'd go down to your clubhouse and I would just rub on Will Smith a little bit to get a little luck. I mean, 3 years.
Yeah, we'll take it. We'll take it.
3 years, 3 different teams, 3 World Series rings. No one's ever done that before. I mean, wow. I mean, and the other thing that will be interesting about the Royals pitching staff, it's going to be a brand new bullpen.
Right. I mean, you got Will Smith, who's, made his debut with the Royals, but now is returning and is a new piece of this iteration of the bullpen. Chris Stratton, who also won the World Series last year with the Rangers. You brought in Nick Anderson from the Braves, just traded for Dron Schreiber. Those are 4 pretty much locks as far as the bullpen is concerned. And then the other 4 slots, it's going to be an interesting mix of guys. There might be a kind of swingman sort of role, maybe an Angel Serpa. Maybe that's where Daniel Lynch slots in to start the season. Maybe Alec Marsh as well. Carlos Hernandez right now is temporarily shut down. Not sure what his injury status is. He was one of the better relievers the first half of the season. Wheels fell off the bus a little bit in the second half of the season. John McMillan has high-octane stuff. Do we see him as part of the opening day bullpen? Matt Sauer was a Rule 5 pick from the Yankees who's flashed a pretty nasty sweeper so far this spring. He could be part of the mix. There are also some non-roster invites. Sam Long, Dan Altavilla, just a couple of the names. And the bottom line is that this bullpen is going to look almost completely different than it did last year when the main weapons, actually, I looked at this the other day, the only Royals reliever who made more than 25 appearances that is back this year is Carlos Hernandez, who's currently not pitching right now. So as far as the Royals bullpen is concerned, it's going to be almost entirely comprised of players that barely pitched at the big league level for the Royals last year.
You talked about retired numbers. I have no idea what Salvador Perez's number is, but that number will be retired at some point. And what a great player. Where he is at his age, obviously batting the lineup, how much do you think he still catches?
That's a really interesting question. And what we saw last year was a good amount of DH opportunities for Salvi, which I think we'll see again this year. We also saw him at first base a decent amount last year. Now, the main reason for that was because Vinny Pasquantino was out for the season after having shoulder surgery. Vinny's back and healthy and is a big part of this Royals offense. If the Royals are successful this year and contend for the Central, it's because Vinny is bringing the thump that he's expected to bring. That said, I think that we could see Salvi over there at first base to give Vinny a day as a designated hitter or give Vinny a day off. And I think the Royals were thrilled with what Freddie Fermin brought to the table last year as a backup catcher. And Freddie's certainly going to fill that role this season, too. I mean, defensively, Freddie is solid. I think the metrics are above average on Freddie as a receiver, and the arm is pretty good as well. And he hit 280 last year with 9 home runs. He was a really serviceable backup catcher. And so that gives the Royals some flexibility with Salvi to say, hey, we want to make sure that you're here the entire season and producing at the highest possible level this entire season. And if that means catching 2 out of 3 instead of all 3, or 4 out of 6 instead of 5 out of 6, I think the Royals have the flexibility and the pieces to do something like that. So how much he catches, I think that'll depend on how the season progresses and the wear and tear that he takes and other players take. But I think you'll see a decent amount of Salvi as the DH, and I think you'll see him sprinkle in at first base a little bit too.
All right, just checked his contract. He's got 2 years left, and the third year after that will be a team option. That's going to get him well over 1,000 RBIs. I think we could be making a case for him with a plaque in Cooperstown.
Yeah, I think, as far as accomplishments go, 8-time All-Star, World Series champ, World Series MVP. He's the only active catcher to have caught 10,000 innings. I mean, the durability is there. And I think what we've seen, there's a statistic for you. He passed that last year in September. And I think what we've seen as far as the Hall of Fame voting body is concerned, I think that they're starting to realize that catchers, that's a different level of analysis for a catcher and the offensive output or the numbers than it is for other positions, especially because of the wear and tear and the mentality of having to be an everyday catcher and handle a pitching staff. And I think there's also something to be said for guys in their Hall of Fame cases after being in one place for their entire career. That level of loyalty and longevity, I think, is something that we see rewarded. I think if we're talking about Yadier Molina as a surefire Hall of Famer, and I think Yadi does have a really strong Hall of Fame case, I don't see Salvador Perez being all that much further behind. I think if he, boosts those counting stats a little bit more, home runs, RBIs, that sort of thing, I think he's going to have a real strong case by the time he hangs him up.
No doubt. I mean, you mentioned Molina. Now that we've seen Mauer go in, Posey will go in before. These people will be the same people voting on Salvi. So the way they're looking at catchers now, and they take your 7-8 best years, I think there's no question. A couple more years, we'll be looking at him for sure as a baseball Hall of Famer. All right, so we look at the Central. Right? We look at the Central's not very good, but you know what? So you're saying there's a chance. I'd rather be in the Central than to be in the East. And, the West has been tough out here. You think about the Astros, now the Rangers. So give me why the Royals got a chance. I mean, everybody's got a chance in the Central, but give me a reason why the Royals got a chance.
Here's the elevator pitch. If you look at the American League Central, there is only one team that has gotten demonstratively better over the course of this past offseason, and that is the Kansas City Royals. The Minnesota Twins, I think, are still the team to beat. That offense is there. That pitching is there. They don't have Sonny Gray anymore. That's obviously just one person, but they're still the team to beat. The Guardians, they had some offensive struggles last year, and the pitching has always been good in Cleveland and will continue to be good in Cleveland. Can they score enough runs to be a threat? The Detroit Tigers were sneakily way better than everybody expected them to be last year. I think they're going to be sneaky good again this year. I think their pitching is underrated. I think Riley Green and Spencer Torkelson bring some pop that hasn't really gotten as much shine as maybe is deserved. I think they could sneak up on some people, maybe not as much as last year, but I think that's a team that you could see take a big step forward. As far as the White Sox are concerned, that's an interesting situation, and I think they're in a kind of rebuild evaluation sort of mode like the Royals might have been last year. I think they're kind of transitioning to a new era, especially with a new GM and a lot of new front office personnel. I'm not sure that the White Sox are in contention mode. And so you look at the Royals, who last year, yes, went 56 and 106, but brought in, like we talked about, Chris, brand new starting rotation, brand new bullpen. Vinny Pasquantino's fully healthy. You've got a superstar in Bobby Witt Jr. You had some pretty strong second halves from MJ Melendez. Kyle Isbell played Gold Glove caliber defense when he was on the field. Michael Garcia, I think, was a severely underrated rookie, both at the plate and in the field. I think you've got the pieces to make some noise, especially in the division where 85, 86, 87 wins might be enough to take that division. Now, 56 to 86, that's 30 more wins. That's a massive jump. Now, the Texas Rangers last year went from 60 some odd wins in 2022 to 90 wins and winning the World Series. It can be done. It's not an impossible thing. The Rangers, bought an entirely new starting rotation last offseason, so there's a difference in approach there. But as far as the Royals are concerned, one of the numbers that I looked at last year that I think about a lot, the Royals had 50 blown lead losses, which means 50 of their 106 losses. At one point during the game, they had the lead, and they lost it. Now, that's a combination of having a lead in the first inning and losing it, and having a lead in the ninth inning and losing it, and having a lead in the sixth inning and losing it, which certainly happened a lot for the Royals. But you take 50 of those blown lead losses, and you turn half of those into wins, all of a sudden, you've got a 500 team. 56 plus 25 is 81. And I'm not saying it's that magical, but I'm saying when you overhaul the pitching staff and you improve the core of the offense by adding in Hunter Renfroe and you trade for Nelson Velasquez and Vinny Pasquantino comes back, I think there's a pretty strong case to be made that the Royals are certainly going to be vastly improved. And depending on what the rest of the Central does, the Royals could certainly be in the mix come, late July, August, even September in a way that they haven't been over the last few seasons.
By the way, I love the way you worded the whole thing about the White Sox. That was well done, because the reality is, as we know, they're a dumpster fire. They were the shit pick for a couple of years.
Your words, not mine.
Those are my words. Chris Townsend, Ace Cat, they're a dumpster fire. Tony, our friend Tony La Russa still there? No. Okay, so Detroit's that chic pick this year. What used to be the White Sox is now Detroit.
Yeah, and the Tigers last year, they were good. They were scrappy. They won a ton of close games. The bullpen was solid. The Royals actually last year went 3-10 against the Tigers. And I remember we were watching the games, and they were all pretty close games. And we came away saying, man, what is the difference really between these two teams right now? Why are the Tigers coming away with this gap in the standings? And I think part of it was the Tigers got off to a pretty good start. Jason Foley and Alex Lang were lockdown pieces in their bullpen at the back end that first half of the season. And then they had some really good starting pitching down the stretch. Tarek Skubal emerged as an ace, not just in the Central, but in the game. And A.J. Hinch named him the opening day starter today. I think Tarek Skubal is going to be really, really good among the young starting pitchers that they have. But I think that the Tigers last year, they took that initial step forward toward being a contender. I think this year they continue to take that step forward. And I think that they're going to be a splashy pick that come June or July, they're going to be in a place that I don't know that many people across baseball that aren't paying close attention would have expected them to be in, because they're going to say, oh, it's the Tigers. I don't know if that's fair. I don't think that's fair. I think the Tigers showed last year that they should be that people should keep an eye on them this year.
Well, I'll tell you what, you can't win the division or get a wild card in that first month, but you can sink your ship. That battleship can get sunk early. We saw it with the A's. Royals lost their first 3 games, then 16 of their first 20. So a decent start can get you going in the right direction. Hey, thank you so much for stopping by. Have a great call today, and let's do this again during the season.
Yeah, absolutely. If I may, I'll say one more thing. First half, second half last year. First half was way different than the second half for the Royals. The Royals' winning percentage, first half to second half, improved by 137 points. The Royals were the most improved team in Major League Baseball last year, first half to second half. And I do think some of that carries over into 2024. So it'll be fun to find out, and it'll be fun to get a look at the A's and match up with you guys for the first time today. Thanks for having me.
I tell you what, the Central's not going to be the best beauty pageant, but it's going to be interesting. Somebody's got to win it.
It all counts.
No doubt. All right, we'll talk to you later in the season.
All right, take care.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be fun, right? These teams that have just been – it's been a super struggle for these teams, and all of a sudden the old English D, the Tigers, are going to be better. They are the chic pick now. It was the White Sox for a few years because they had talent. And you're like, oh, they'll put it together this year. Oh no, it will be this year. And they just never put it together. They're a dumpster fire. They don't really know. They should be in a rebuild. It's just been Chris Getz is the new takes over for Kenny Williams.
And Rick Hahn.
And Rick Hahn. It's just it's Jerry Reinsdorf has got to be in his 80s, right?
Oh, he's close to 90, I think now. Reinsdorf. He is 88.
Yeah, they're now talking about a new ballpark. We addressed that the other day. Why not the Royals? And this is one thing, like when people try and do the improvement game, like how can you go from this to that? How can you improve by 20 games? You have to remember, we're dealing with a whole different group of human beings. You're acting like it's the exact same team being brought back. And that's the same thing for a team that won a bunch of games who then could lose a bunch of games the next year. These teams change so much. The dynamic of the people, it's like your workplace. If you have a place where you work and more than half the people are new coming in the next year, how can you act like production will be the same as last year when you got all these new people? It's a completely different group. So you've got some young players in Kansas City. You know, Detroit's feeling good about themselves. Minnesota, because of their TV contract situation, it looks like they're going to be in a hold on and hope. Why not? Somebody's going to win that division.
One thing about the Royals, too, and I know Jake brought it up about their starting pitching, but when they got Cole Reagans from the Rangers for Aroldis Chapman, he was unbelievable. His second half stats, he was 5-2 with a 2.64 ERA and 12 starts, 89 strikeouts and 71 2/3 innings. This is a guy that's 3 Tommy John surgeries, and he's finally healthy. If he can duplicate that for the Royals, I'm not saying he's going to be added to that mantle with Saberhagen and David Cone and Greinke that won Cy Youngs, but he could be a guy that could be very under the radar picked for Cy Young in the American League.
When you talk pitching, remember my guy.
Yeah, well, Gooby's on the quest for he's on the questions for Know Your Royals for Johnny.
He's in the Royals Hall of Fame.
Cabana Boy.
Remember Reagans made his comeback against us.
Yeah.
And I remember getting ready for the game, and I'm going, this guy's had 2 Tommy John surgeries, and he was out there throwing bullets. But, yeah, it was, again, if you A's fans, if you remember, Reagans came out, and he was coming back, and it was kind of like the Rangers were like, got this guy that's got a great arm. He's had 2 Tommy John surgeries. I do not like when people try, and I get how everybody tries to sell it. Well, you look at all the starters, but a lot were relievers. They were openers. Doesn't matter. Somebody's got to start the game.
Yeah.
Then that means when you use 23 different guys, I don't care if they were relievers. That's what he was saying is the same thing that Giants people have tried to sell. It doesn't work. It doesn't work. Yeah. Outside of Tampa, where is the opener on a consistent basis really worked? Well, the opener got out of it within the guy you had coming in after the opener. He stunk. There was always a problem with the chain, right? There was always a problem with how it was going to work out. If your reliever went out there and got you through the first inning or the second inning, okay, man. But then the bridge guy, the follower, whatever the hell you want to call the bulk guy, he then got, when you got to use 23 different people, somebody's got to take the ball to start the game.
Yeah.
Somehow the game's got to start. Somebody's got to take the ball. And when you have an extreme amount of people have that role, you will not be good. And I don't care. Stop selling me. Well, we just had relievers. I don't buy it. I don't buy it. Am I wrong?
No, we learned it firsthand from what happened in 19 or 18, unfortunately, with the A's when they had to use the opener against the Yankees with Liam. And
I'm talking for a season.
Oh, yeah, for a season.
A full season. When you say to people that were with the Giants, look how many different guys started. Oh, yeah, but a lot of that was the opener. What? I don't care who it is. You didn't have a group of qualified starters to start games for 6 months. And if you gotta go to the trickeration card and use a bunch of relievers, it's not going to end well. Outside of Tampa, where has using the opener on and they're not even doing it anymore on a consistent basis. But they might go back to it. But where outside of Tampa has the opener on a consistent basis been successful?
It hasn't been really anywhere. And
so there's 20. You will admit, because there was a time, remember, we had the record, the Rays team record for X amount of time. They were well over 500 using the opener. I can't remember what year that was. We had that stat, but it was impressive. The other 29 teams in baseball, where have they been successful incorporating the strategy of the opener long-term, and it worked?
Yeah, I mean, I think it was last year because I saw an article and I think we just updated it a little bit, but I can't officially find those numbers. Like, it's not in the Rays media guide or their game notes. I wish it was.
It was all I remember is
it was really, they were very good with it.
It was in the Baltimore Sun, if I'm correct. The Rays were taking on the Orioles, and the Baltimore Sun had that number. I remember we had that number, and it was like they were 85 after X amount of years. They were like 85 and 50 something using the openers.
Yeah.
And it was like, dude, that's impressive. That's impressive. But everybody else, it hasn't been a great long-term strategy. And people try and make excuses when you say, hey, man, you used a ton of starters. They go, oh, well, a lot of it was the opener. Well, guess what? How'd that work out? It didn't. It doesn't. 29 other teams, it hasn't worked out. And great thing about when we were down at spring training and Mark Kotze addressed this, where he said, could we use the opener? Yes. Is there a time where during the season on a certain day you're going to staff it? Okay. But Mark Kotze does not want to go to that strategy on a consistent basis. Why? Because it doesn't work. It was a chic thing, and we're a copycat league, and same things for every league, but they normally say that about the NFL. But it's a copycat league, and all of a sudden the Rays are doing it, so everybody wanted to do it. I don't like the strategy.
I think my favorite thing about the Giants and the opener last year and everything, relievers, they had Zach Littell. You're going to go, who? Zach Littell. They had him pitch out of the bullpen, the whole thing with Kapler when he pulled him out of the game and all that. He goes to Tampa and becomes a starting pitcher and has like an ERA under 3.5 as a starting pitcher for Tampa Bay. The Giants couldn't figure that out with him. You couldn't use him as a starter in San Francisco, but the Rays go, just throw him in there, and he has an ERA under almost, I think it was under 3.5 as a starter.
It is why I was surprised that Giants brass linked Melvin and Farhan together on a contract.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. It's how many years now?
It's why I was surprised. Like, I understand you bring Melvin in, you've got to give him security for him to leave the Padres and the deal that he had, even though he couldn't wait to get out of there. But the fact that you linked Farhan to that, because if the Giants go out and have a not great year, how do you continue to let Farhan run the organization? And when I heard Paul Hembekides from ESPN, who's so bright, right? And he talked about the Giants, I'm like, you're talking about a team that was last in defense, last in stolen bases, which basically means you don't have great athleticism. So how are you going to win? Are you going to outslug people? Do they have the personnel to outslug people?
No, even with adding Soler, they still don't have the guys because we don't know what he's going to do in that ballpark.
So
he's a right-handed hitter.
If they don't have the ability to outslug you, they don't have the ability to have better athletes than you, and you don't play good defense. Like, what are we talking about? I mean, what's your game plan?
Yeah, the 81.5, I don't know how I feel about that number. Unless they somehow sign Snell to help with their rotation. And you're right about linking Bob and Farhan. Like Bob went there. There was a quote the other day. I think it was Andrew Baggerly of The Athletic had it. Someone asked Bob about all the starting pitchers being available still, like Blake Snell, and it was in regard to Tristan Beck getting hurt. And they were like, I'm paraphrasing, but it was like along the lines of, hey, Bob, there's a lot of good starting pitchers out there. I think that could help your team. And he's responded with, you think? So I don't know. Is Bob already, I'm not saying he's annoyed, but I mean, you're already looking at the things that are going wrong with the Giants. And it's spring training. I get it. And I know they haven't won a game and people are making a joke about that because who knows, they can come out and win 100 games. Again, I'm not saying it's going to happen. That one year they did win 100 games with a little bit of a fluke, but that's what happened. Quietly, while we were doing the interview with Jake, Royce Lewis, another grand slam. That's all he does.
Can he stay healthy?
Yeah, but all he does is hit grand slams when he does play.
I mean, 2 home runs in his first postseason game. I mean, the guy, when he's healthy.
I mean, there's a reason why he's a top pick.
I mean, when he's healthy, it's the same, it's that's part of their issue, right?
The 3 guys at the top of their lineup, him, Correa, and Buxton. If they can stay healthy, great lineup.
I mean, you can't even play Buxton in center field because he can't stay healthy. So he's a DH. I mean, it's just that their guys have just the track record is they're hurt. Well, okay. All of a sudden, this is the year they all stay healthy.
I don't see it.
And Correa.
Apparently Buxton's going to play more center field this year is what I've been hearing. Like when I've been listening to podcasts and stuff.
From who's saying that?
I think I've heard on Sirius XM. They were talking about how Buxton's going to play more in center field and saying he's not. Why? He's not going to stay healthy. DH him. He didn't even stay healthy then.
No, you're going to throw him back out there. I mean, the way they want to. This whole we got to try and save guys that have them healthy for the postseason. Like, man, you're going to have to. He's got to play for you to get to the postseason. I don't know.
So the Central,
a lot of stuff that's said in spring training is garbage.
Yeah, and
a lot is said. I'm hearing this. I mean,
Buxton's playing center right now in spring training, so
good. I mean, you're paying him $100 million. You better. I mean, you got to play.
Lewis is DHing. Royce Lewis, who had the grand slam, is DHing. So that's why Buxton's playing center field.
By the way, Wall Street Journal put out, and I can tell you, being in Arizona for a couple weeks and then coming back to the Bay Area, it's official. We can pretty much treat COVID like the flu now. You okay with that?
Sure. I mean, it's crazy. I think 4 years ago is when the major outbreak happened. 4 years ago already. A lot's changed in 4 years.
Yeah, it's how life changes, right?
Yeah.
How we talk about it in sports and life, the whole thing, life change. One thing that's a guarantee, life always moves on. No matter what happens, whether we get what we want, we don't get what we want, life will move on.
There's that really good quote.
Life moves on with or without us, Cody. I don't know if you know that.
Yes, one of my favorite quotes is from Ferris Bueller. Life comes at you fast. If you don't look around every once in a while, you might miss it. Life comes at you fast.
Comes at you fast. All right. What time's Johnny?
11:30, so another 20 minutes.
Okay, we've got to get back to
the pitching.
That baseball could be changing for the good again. I got a whole article that talks about the changes for baseball proved last year. It was great for the game. What metric do you want to go by to say that the rule changes worked? What data do you want to prove it by?
I mean, there's a lot of them.
Okay, then we'll talk about it next right here on A's Cast Live.
Hey, Oakland A's fans, join your team this spring in Mesa. With nonstop flights direct from Oakland, there's never been a better time to head to the Southwest. Surrounded by the stunning Sonoran Desert, spring training fans know why Arizona is the perfect spring break escape. Miles of trails, shoreline, and sunshine combined for an unforgettable Arizona adventure. There's simply no shortage of things to do, see, and discover in Mesa. Get your visitor's guide at visitmesa.com.
Nestled in the hills of San Jose, minutes from Silicon Valley, Cinnabar Hills Golf Club offers 27 holes of championship golf, a first-class pro shop, practice facility, and great food in the grill. This time of year also means family and business get-togethers. Let the folks at Cinnabar Hills make your event unforgettable while enjoying their award-winning venue. It's all there for you. Championship golf, a great space for any events, and incredible food. See it all at CinnabarHills.com. That's CinnabarHills.com.
This is Chris Townsend. There are two things that are a must for me: comfort and style. Whether I'm playing golf, going to dinner, I've got to have the right feel. That's why I've partnered with Linksole, and you're going to love Linksole. They have just released their new spring line, new fabrics for their polos, lightweight and perfect for technical performance. Linksole also has new styles for their layers and hoodies with cool prints and seasonal colors. You know what they say in the big leagues: look good, play good. Go to linksole.com. That's linksole.com.
If you're looking for a new mattress, Nest Bedding has you covered. Sleep on the same mattress Hall of Famer Ricky Henderson sleeps on. Nest Bedding is the #1 brand of online mattresses and the Bay Area's favorite mattress store. Take home the Easy Breather pillow. The New York Times calls it their #1 pick. You can navigate their easy-to-use website, nestbedding.com. That's nestbedding.com. Green and Gold fans, use the coupon code Oakland and you get 10% off your entire order. Nest Bedding, love where you sleep.
Ever since we got Xfinity, we have Wi-Fi all over the house, even in my hiding spots.
Ha! Found ya.
How?
That's wall-to-wall Wi-Fi from Xfinity. Now through March 21st, get started with 200 megabit internet for $25 a month for 2 years with no annual contract and get Wi-Fi equipment included. Go to Xfinity.com, call 1-800-XFINITY or visit a store today. Requires paperless bill and auto-pay with stored bank account. Restrictions apply. Taxes and fees extra. After promo, regular rates apply to internet service and Wi-Fi equipment. Actual speeds vary.
A's general manager David Forst was on A's Cast Live during the winter meetings and explained why the team was moving Mason Miller to the bullpen.
Mason's tried starting now over 3 years, minor leagues, big leagues, keeps coming up with something, and we're going to try the pen. And you know, to Mason's credit, he's open to whatever. He's obviously a little disappointed. I think everybody wants to be the starter when it comes down to it. But I mean, he, you know, obviously, like you said, with his stuff, he could have a really impressive career in the bullpen. But we told him this is not permanent. Like, go out there, let's try and keep you healthy for a year. That's got to be the first step. That way you help yourself, you help the team, and then we can reevaluate.
You can watch the full interview at youtube.com/athletics or listen at athletics.com/A'sCast.
If you're looking for a great place to eat and watch games, go see our friends at the Chicken Pie Shop of Walnut Creek. The Chicken Pie Shop is one of the hottest restaurants in Walnut Creek. You're not going to find a better menu, and come try their world-famous chicken pie that has been served in Southern California for 86 years. Spacious indoor and outdoor dining, perfect for your next private party or corporate event. Don't forget free parking. For more information, go to chickenpieshopwc.com. That's chickenpieshopwc.com.
Nick Allen joined Towny on A's Cast Live and discussed the conversation he had with his teammates regarding 2024.
Rooker came Gelof and I a little bit, last year, but he was just like, we can't do this again. You know, we got to find a way to really work our, tails off to get better and put us in a better position. And then, Zach and I always talk about, we were like, sink or swim, especially in our division, so we got to find a way to make it happen. Else, it doesn't happen. So that's just I think that's hopefully going to be our motto, but we just got to obviously take it day by day and just keep getting better.
You can watch the full interview at youtube.com/athletics or listen at athletics.com/A'sCast.
The A's YouTube page is your go-to destination for A's video content. Get access to great highlights, exclusive behind-the-scenes content, classic games, A's Cast Live, and more. Visit youtube.com/athletics.
Streaming from the studio, A's Cast Live continues with Chris Townsend.
I love this conversation before we get to Johnny D, because what it does, it brings the guys who hold this back into the main equation and makes them stars again.
I totally agree with that. I mean, because we had this discussion, was it last week we're on, or maybe when we were in Arizona, when we talked about the whole, when I mentioned how Logan Webb's an ace, and we went back to that, and we were looking at the guys that thrown 200 innings and whatnot. 5 guys did it last year. 5.
How many
5
times
guys.
has Logan Webb done it?
I think he's done it 2 years now. But Logan Webb led the league last year at 216. The 5 guys were Logan Webb, Zach Gallen, the AL Cy Young winner Garrett Cole, Miles Michaelis from the Cardinals, who had if you look at every other number besides innings pitched, had a horrible year, but he went 201 in a third innings. And our good friend Chris Bassett went exactly 200 innings. There was 5 guys that did it last year. To go back to 2022, the year before, there were 8 guys, the year that I made the food bet with you about there would be no guys that did it. And Sandy Alcantara led all of baseball with 228 2/3.
Logan Webb's done it one time.
Was it? Well, then he had like 190 something the year
He's done
before.
it one time. One time, 200 innings. It's a joke that you call him an ace. It's a joke. What says he's an ace? What do you want me to? I'm on Baseball Reference right now. What do you want? Where do you want me to go to say that this guy is an ace?
Well, I have to let me pull up.
Well, no. Why do you have to look it up? You should tell me if a guy's an ace. You should be able to tell me why he's an ace.
I mean,
why? What has he done?
It's recency bias. We're basing off of what he did last year.
So you are going to use the moniker of an ace based off 1 year?
If you look at his numbers,
2 years? Is 2 years a big body of work?
Over the last 3 years, he's had a 3.07 ERA, and he's started at least 30 games all 3 years. We talk about but we talk about
that's an ace.
I can't help the way the game's viewed. Not every guy's Garrett freaking Cole.
But Garrett Cole's an ace.
He's one. Verlander's old now. He's not an ace anymore.
Yeah, well, that's what an ace is, bro. An ace is a guy that has a career and a body of work. How many All-Star games?
But 1. He was in it last year. But he wasn't even an All-Star last year.
So a guy's never been an All-Star. He's never won any awards, and he's had a 3-year stretch of an ERA just over 3. That's going to put me, because maybe my definition, I'm not hating on Logan Webb.
No,
Logan Webb is really good.
Yeah.
But to me, an ace are guys that I think Corbin Burns, I said to you before the show, everybody wanted to anoint Corbin Burns as this unbelievable great pitcher. And okay, he had a few years. I mean, great pitchers have 10 plus years. Great athletes. What sport do you want to go to where you anoint? Because an ace, you're anointing a guy as a terrific player, as a great player, right? Is that what a great player is? So if you're telling me if a quarterback goes out and just has 2 good years, you're going to anoint him as elite and he's one of the best quarterbacks? I mean,
that happens sometimes, though. I mean, after 2 years.
Well, just because it happens doesn't mean it's right. I mean, how many years did it take Steph Curry to be Steph Curry?
Oh, yeah, it took many years because he was hurt a lot.
But how many years? You just don't go out and have 1 or 2 years and we're like, oh, man, we're putting you on the upper echelon. Because when you're an ace, you're on the upper echelon. It took Verlander how many years?
A couple.
I mean, where do you want to go? And I know you start looking at, well, these guys are Hall of Famers, but that's what aces are. Aces are players that either are going to be Hall of Famers or they'll be in discussion of the Hall of Fame. You're trying to tell me Logan Webb's at that point? Now, if Logan Webb does this for another 4 years, 5 years, I'm like, you're damn right. He's earned that right. And I'm not hating on any Giant. If Logan Webb is great and he's greatness, I'll say it because I love the game more than I hate the Giants. I will be totally honest, right? I tell you, Barry Bonds is the greatest player I've ever seen. Barry Bonds is the greatest player I've ever seen. Hand down. I've said on this program, Jeff Kent should be a Hall of Famer. So I've been honest about how I feel about guys who played for the Giants because it's about your credibility. I'm not going to sit here and say Logan Webb is an ace. I mean, don't you have to do – I mean, what's your resume?
Yeah, like
200 innings, 1 time, no All-Star game, no awards. I mean, you got to – if he does what he did this past year.
Finished second in the Cy.
Last
year.
year.
He can do it again this year.
No, if he does it again for 3, 4 – if he does that and he's going into his, how old is he now? He's 26. Yeah. If he's doing that and he's got this as he's hitting age 30, then you're like, you're damn right. You're damn right. I mean, look what Kershaw did. Look at these guys that Pedro Martinez. Look at what these guys did year after year after year after year. That's what the great players do. Bonds isn't the greatest player because he had 2-3 good years. Bonds did it every year. You want to look at Tony Gwynn, what he did every year? You want to look at what Ricky Henderson did every year? And you're like, well, they're Hall of Famers. Yeah, well, that's what the great players are. The great players get put in Hall of Fames.
When you mentioned the first guy that came to my mind when you said about quarterbacks and how we anoint them, the first guy I thought of was Joe Burrow. Injured first year, okay, first year as a rookie. Then he had 2 really good years that injured again. And after the second year when they go to the Super Bowl, everyone's like, top 3, top 5 quarterback, could be a Hall of Famer. It's like, bro, stay healthy.
It's just we want to anoint and give people stuff they haven't earned yet. And that's what we love to do that.
By the way, Joe Burrow's very good. I'm not saying he's not good.
Yeah, no one's saying he sucks. I mean, he had one of the greatest years in college football. He's gotten his team.
That year was incredible.
He's gotten his team to the Super Bowl. But I am one. Prove it to me. Prove it. Somebody has to be the adult in the room and slow down, you hot takers. You hot take artists. You love it. Everybody likes it. What happens if Logan Webb goes out this year and doesn't perform well? And then I'm going to be sitting here going, hey, remember that show back on March 1st and you were anointing him as an ace? But see, what happens is in our business, everybody throws out hot takes and then the hot take goes into the hot take universe and then you move on. And then you move on. And then you move on. So you never have to own your hot takeness unless I bet you and you owe me food, which I've now done the past couple of years. It's like the hot take artist can throw out their hot takes, but then if they're wrong, they never go back and backtrack on it. They just move on and act like it doesn't happen. I mean, we say it in all walks of life, but you say it's a great thing about video and politics now, right? Politicians say stuff. 4 years later, they say something completely different. You go, yeah, but I have this clip back here where you were on Meet the Press 4 years ago and you said this. So we need to slow down. It's like Zach Gelof. I'm so high on Zach Gelof, but yet he's going to have to do it for a few years before I say Zach Gelof is this great player. He's one of the great players in our game. You got to do it, man.
Well, you're already calling him Ryan Sandberg.
I compared him. It's a comp. I didn't say he's Ryan Sandberg. I said he looks like Ryan Sandberg. It's a big difference. Ken Griffey Jr. came up at 19, but he did it at 20, 21, 22, 23, 25. There's got to be a body of work. And when you do have superb, outstanding years, what comes with that is MVP trophies. There's a reason why when you go to the Baseball Hall of Fame and you look at their plaques, you see the achievements. You see, like you read the plaques and you see the guy's an 18-time All-Star, 3-time MVP. You acquire these awards when you're great. Nowadays, we want to know. I mean, look, how many guys are really an ace in Major League Baseball right now?
Garrett Cole.
Okay, you give him a 1.
So if we're going off of the standards of 200 innings, 30-plus starts every year, Garrett Cole. Sandy Alcantara's hurt now, so you can't throw him in there.
He was there. If he doesn't get hurt.
Yeah. He definitely was there because he's
in the conversation. Yeah. Yeah, and people go, well, baseball's changed. Really? I have an article right here that says baseball wants to change it back.
Just looking up the guys from last year, I mean, this is 2 years ago.
Give me Corbin Burns' numbers last year.
Corbin Burns in 2023 won 193 and 2/3, 339 ERA, won 10 games and 32 starts. He's done 200 innings once. It was 2 years ago. Then 193 and 2/3 last year.
And it's a problem.
And one last start.
And it's a problem for our game because the guys who handle the ball need to be stars. The guys who handle the ball, for the most part, whether you pick the sport, is there a sport where the guy that handles the ball is not a star?
No. The ball, no. You can even say with hockey with a puck. Most of the guys that handle the puck are star players.
Yeah, you want the puck on the stick of your best players.
Fact, yes.
Right? And I'm not the biggest hockey guy growing up on the frozen ponds of California, but I know that, right?
It didn't get you to have frozen ponds in San Diego?
Yeah, we're growing up in San Diego. We had no frozen ponds, but I knew I wanted the puck in Gretzky's hands. Mario Lemieux, you want the puck with that guy. Gordie Howe, I mean, you name the guy, you want the puck with that guy. I mean, there's a reason why they always pass the ball to Michael Jordan. I want Jordan to have the ball. Steph Curry, I want him to have the ball.
LeBron.
Yeah, LeBron James, I think we're going to say he had a pretty good career. You want him to have the ball. The quarterback has the ball. The starting pitcher has the ball.
I think the way the game's trended in baseball now, we want that closer to have the ball anymore, because I think we're trying to. That's why those guys.
We don't even pitch closers in the 5. It could be we got to put them in the 7th because the high leverage inning.
Yeah.
I mean,
not every guy's Josh Hader can go 2 innings.
At some point, we got to get the starters, and it's also good for the game because it's about the matchups. We like to sell the matchups. Hey, tonight, who's pitching? There's a reason why we have who's pitching. It's part of the sales job for the performance. When you go to a movie, you want to know who the actors are. I mean, this is the entertainment business, people. I don't care what the front offices say. You can get me the smartest kid at MIT who could say I'm the biggest idiot and I don't know what I'm talking about. And I'm going to go, okay, great with all your data, but I'm going to tell you, if no one shows up and no one pays to watch, you have no business. And people want to see stars. I mean, one of the greatest things ever was the Giants, who won 107 games, and the attendance didn't reflect it. Because it wasn't, according to all my Giants buddies, because obviously I can't watch all these games, they didn't like the style of play. So this whole you just win, doesn't always work. You go to a movie, who's in the movie? You want to know, right?
Yes.
You want to know who the actors are. Like when I go to a concert, I'm going to see the band. I want to see the stars. And that's part of what baseball has started to lack is you're like, who's pitching tonight? I don't know. I got a guy who's going to go 1 inning, then they're pulling him. Now you know who's coming in after that. I mean, the pitching matchup does matter in our game.
Would you say Aaron Nola is an ace?
No.
I'm just looking at him because in his career, he's done 200 innings multiple times, but he's also now going to be 31.
Am I paying money? To go, if Aaron Nola comes to town, am I getting my kids? Think about this. Think about everything it takes to go to a game. Think about it. You got to get in the car, public transit. You got to pay the money. You got to park. You got to pay for tickets. You got to do all this. You got to work the next day. The kids got to go, all that kind of stuff. Or if you're just going with your buddies or whatever, to actually physically say, I'm not going to sit at home and watch it, which, by the way, you have to pay to watch because you got to have cable. Or now you got to pay for the streaming. But let's just say to go watch. There's things that you've got to do. You got to battle traffic. There's things you got to do and make decisions on why you're going to go to the game. Is Aaron Nola somebody that's going to make me go, I got to go see him pitch?
I don't think there's a lot of, for me, there's a lot of guys that throw hard that are attractions, but there's not guys that I'm like, oh, I got to go. Well, I'm at the ballpark with most of the time with you. So I'm like, I can't go if someone's coming in to say play the Giants or they're coming, it's an off day for me in Oakland. If I would just take my A's hat off and I was just a fan, I don't know if there's a lot of guys there. I'm like, I got to go to that game.
That's a problem.
Ohtani when he pitches.
That's a problem.
Yeah.
That's a problem. Cause I remember when I was a little kid, Nolan Ryan was an Astro and my dad would be like, we're going. Why are we going? Because something magical could happen.
He was pretty good.
We would go to the game when Nolan Ryan pitched for sure. My dad would take us because Nolan Ryan was pitching. You went to see one dude. It was Nolan Ryan because when he got on the mound, magic happened, right? Something was going to happen. Even in bad games, he's still punching out a bunch of dudes. He was pure entertainment. He's up there grunting and snorting. And he was entertainment. I remember there was one year I was doing the morning show on KMBR. I guess you could look it up what year it was. It was probably early 2000s. It was a rainy opening day in Oakland. The Yankees were opening up. I believe it was opening. Yeah, it had to have been opening day. Roger Clemens was pitching against the A's, and the A's had a terrific team. Well, I want to watch it. I mean, it's Roger Clemens. It's Pedro Martinez. I mean, it's the guys that they're we need these guys. We need to start producing these guys again. It's better for our game. The guy who the game starts. We're the only sport where the defense starts the action. I want you to remember that. We're the only sport where the defense, because pitching is part of your defense. Defense starts the game. And when you have no-name guys starting the game and starting the action, that's not good. It's going to happen because we have a lot of players, but the game is better. We still talk about that game, Warren Spahn against Juan Marichal. We talk about these games where the pitchers, Bob Gibson. We need
Smoltz Morris. I know it's a World Series game, but still.
We talk about, what do we talk about now? You're talking Corbin Burns is so great. He's thrown 200 innings one time. We're really, really, really like when you watch the All-Star game and you look at the pitching staffs, does that really float your boat these days? And it's one of let's face it, there's a reason why the All-Star ratings have just gone.
That's why I go to the home run derby.
Because you want to see who are the star players, the hitters.
Yeah. That's exciting. Nothing against the All-Star game. I prefer personally the home run derby.
But if you had an All-Star game where you had all these great pitchers going up against the great hitters, it now is a different dynamic.
Yeah. Plus, the rules of, if you pitch on Sunday, you can't pitch in the game. There's a lot of things, and a lot of the guys that I grew up watching that were stars. I'll leave Cole out because he's still good, but like Verlander's older, Kershaw's older, Scherzer's older and hurt. So a lot of those guys they're aging, and we haven't really got that new crop of guys. There's guys that have potential, but there's not guys just there yet because of the way the game treats.
Yeah, we bring up a bunch of guys that throw hard that can't stay healthy, and that's a problem. Like you would I remember when the Braves would come to town to play the Giants, and you're like, oh man, this series you're gonna have Glavine, you're gonna have Maddox, you're gonna have Smoltz. The Giants had good team. That's entertainment, man.
Plus, they're good.
Think about that. They had three guys. You want to talk about people paid I would be very interested in seeing what the road attendant. The A's back in the 70s. I was playing golf with a guy that was from Toronto. I played longbow. Vince's son Dom hooked me up. I'm playing longbow in Mesa with three guys from Toronto, and the one guy was a big Blue Jays fan. And we sat there and talked about the 70s teams, and I told him about our reunions and all the interviews that we done. And he thought, the A's of the 70s, I love those teams. And we're talking about all the different players. The A's back in the day, especially Vida Blue, when they showed, home attendance stunk, but the road attendance for those A's teams was huge. People around the country, when the A's showed up, people wanted to go watch because they had a great team. People wanted to watch Catfish. They wanted to watch Vida Blue. They wanted to see Reggie Jackson. But we're talking about pitching, right? You tell me what's the road attendance for Nolan Ryan's road games. I guarantee you the attendance goes up.
Oh, absolutely. You can even look back as far back as, the late 2000, like the 08, 09, 2010. You can just use a Bay Area. Living on the East Coast, I wanted to watch Tim Lincecum pitch. I wanted to go to when the Giants came. When the Giants came, I wanted to see him pitch.
Yeah. Tim Lincecum when Tim Lincecum was on, he was must-watch TV. There's no doubt. Vida Blue, they'll tell you. Mark the Bird Fidrich. These guys showed up, and people flocked to the ballpark to see because they wanted to see this guy, this pitcher. And all of a sudden, everybody's tried to downplay the pitchers. You downplay the wins. You downplay this. You downplay that. And all of a sudden, now we're looking up with all this time of you diminishing the importance of the starting pitcher. This is where we're at now. We're gonna have to make rules to bring that guy back. And when you bring that guy back and he pitches more times and he has more innings, guess what? He wins more games. You can't deny that. We've diminished the role of the starting pitcher. And it has not been what's better for the game.
Yeah, real quick before we go to Johnny. 2023 last season, 5 guys, 200 innings. 2022, 8 guys. 2015, how many guys think did it?
And what?
2015.
What'd you say we're at right now?
Last year was 5.
2015. I'm going to say there's probably a little bit of a bump, but can't be that crazy.
28 different guys went 200 plus innings.
28, not that long ago.
Yeah.
28. Yeah, it's.
One of them's Garrett Cole.
Let me ask you,
as a Pirate.
As an A's fan, did you like 24 different starters last year? As a Royals fan, did you like 23 different starters, whether they're bullpen guys or not? Do you like that? Do you like that style of play? No. All right. We're bringing on a man who's been red hot. I mean, it's like if he was in Vegas, he's on a heater right now. Johnny, I've been very impressed.
Thank you.
You've upped your game this spring.
Well, I appreciate that. If I was in Vegas and I was on the craps table, I was on a heater like this, I would stay on the table. I would stay on the craps table for sure. No question.
But do you have the governor to be able to walk away as the tide starts to change, or are you somebody that will just give it all back to the casino?
I would say I'm getting better through the years on that. When I was in my 20s, no shot, 30s, a little bit better discipline. As I gotten older, I do walk away a little bit. Now, not all the time, but I do have more discipline now than I did back in the day, for sure.
Do you drink when you gamble?
I do. I don't. Once in a while, I mean, look. Will I have one? Absolutely. But I don't ever get like hammered at the table. No.
Let's hope this.
That's good for you. Good for you.
Yeah.
Because that was part of the fun for gambling for me. So I'm going to keep playing, keep drinking, keep playing. We're having a great time. Yeah. And next thing you know, it's 5 a.m. and you're like, wait a minute, the sun's already up. What am I doing here? All right, Johnny. I played the highlights the past couple days. Great to see some of the A's go in the yard. We played Noda. We played Gelof. Good to see some of the young bats hitting the long ball.
It is, Towny, and to see him like go the other way. I mean, like both of Gelof's home runs have been the other way. We saw, of course, Lugbauer's walk-off the other day was the other way. We talk about spring training stats and what they mean, and they're meaningless, whatever, but they're really, you watch the approach. I think that's what Kotsay's really happy about right now. The skipper's happy with the approach some of these young guys are taking at the plate. And yeah, it's spring training, but you're still working on things. And I agree with you, Towny. I've been impressed with a lot of these young guys and the vets too, just the approach they're taking. And look, it's spring training, but talking to these guys in the clubhouse, they still want to win. It's spring training. They're competitive. They want to win the game. Yeah, you're working on things, but these games don't count per se. But these guys are, some of these guys are trying to win a roster spot and impress for the future, for their future in the organization. So yeah, it does mean some things for sure. There's no question.
You and I talked about it on the broadcast that we were on together, where we talked about spring training is different for all the teams and all the players. When you're somebody like, I'll just pick out the Atlanta Braves or the Los Angeles Dodgers, your record in spring training means nothing. But for the A's, winning game after you only won 50 and you didn't have a whole lot of taste of winning games, or the Royals who lost 106 games last year. Yeah. I think you could say at the end of the game, shaking hands and winning. Once again, does it mean anything? Do you get a trophy? No, but winning, there's a culture to winning. There's something about winning where you learn. You got to learn how to win. You got to learn how to close this thing out. It doesn't hurt for teams that stunk last year. Both these teams today got to call it as we see it. The A's and the Royals were dumpster fires last year. Both these teams winning some games heading into the season. That's not bad.
It's not. Towny, you and I have talked about the fact that winning is a part of development, and you learn how to win, and you get addicted to winning. And, like some guys say, they'd rather, it hurts more to lose than it feels good to win. But that hurt last year for a lot of these guys, and they have pride. And, that whole thing of us against the world, it's a real thing. Get in that clubhouse the other day before a spring training game, I was talking to Noda. He goes, we got to win this. We got to win this game. So it's like they want to win every game they go. They know that feeling they had last year. And with these young guys, and they talk about the new A's, they want to have a championship mentality, as Kotsay puts it. Play like a championship team, even though, look, are the A's going to make the playoffs? Probably not. But you want to have that championship mentality, and that stuff permeates throughout the clubhouse. And I'm telling you that those positive vibes go from the young guys, the veteran guys, and all of a sudden you find yourself, look, they won 3 in a row before losing yesterday. They're back on the winning track today, hopefully. But it is spring training, but guys definitely want to win.
When you change the people that you employ, so this goes in all business, right? When you change the people you employ, there can be dramatic changes. So, and it's tough for people because we want to look, it's an organization and you only won X amount of games last year. How could you improve that much? Or how did you win that many games last year and you now stink? Well, the humans inside the building change dramatically. I don't know. Cody, what was the record of the Miami Heat before everybody took their talents to South Beach?
That's a great question. I don't remember.
I don't think they were very good.
I remember they won the title a few years prior to that, but they weren't very good the year before.
That was with Shaq and Dwayne Wade. Dwayne Wade was a rookie, right? Wasn't he?
He was only a couple years in the league. The year before they got LeBron and all them, I don't remember the record. The team's not very good or not a big names, but they were 47-35 and they were in the playoffs.
Okay, but they
you don't remember the record and it was on the team.
That's what I'm saying. It's like you can look at football teams the year before weren't, they had some signs, you change people, boom, next thing you know, you could be winning or playing for the Super Bowl. So we saw 1991, we saw both the Braves and the Twins go from last place to the World Series. So once you change people and you change things, last year doesn't matter. So that's why we shouldn't think all these things are that crazy. We just talked to Jake Eisenberg, and we're talking about, the Royals should be, because they've made so much change, they should be dramatically better. The A's should be dramatically better.
And as you said with the interview with Jake, look, you never know, right? Like this division is wide open, this American League Central. So for the Royals, they look at the improvements they made, the additions they made, the big contract for Bobby Witt, and they're getting some stability there. They added some good pieces to the bullpen and Will Smith and Chris Stratton. It's a team that could compete in a wide open AL Central. But you're right. Look, do you remember what happened May 26th last year with the A's? I don't. People have short memories, right? So again, we'll forget about last year, try to make an improvement on this year. I couldn't believe, and the over/under on A's wins is 57.5, which is a joke. I don't think there's any question this team will win more than 60 games. I can't even imagine just the improvements they made. They're a year older. They have that championship mentality. So I think it's going to be different this year. I think people do have short memories, Towny. They do, and I think this year you're going to forget about 2023. You see what happens in 2024.
All right, the last time the Yankees have won the World Series was 2009, correct?
Yeah, it's factual.
By the way, also, you want a little fact there? They're the last team to lead the league in home runs and win the World Series.
Really?
Yeah, they're the last. So we put such an onus on hitting all these home runs. The last team who hit the most dingers and win the World Series was the 09 Yankees. Since 2009, how many times have the preview magazines, how many times since 2009 have people predicted the Yankees to win the World Series?
Since 2009?
I don't have a number, but I'm going to say it's probably over 80%. Everybody, it's always chalk, right? Oh, the Yankees. Right, man, it's just, you just don't know. I don't, you know what? Like you said, Johnny, I don't remember April last year. I don't remember our spring training shows last year, but we do this every year, and we have all the people on. We have national people on. We have the local people from the markets on. I don't remember one person predicting the Snakes to be in the World Series.
Oh, I know. Exactly. If they are, they're either just wild fans making those predictions, or they're not telling the truth, because you're right.
Now, I did predict. They were my team to click, as you like to say. They were Cody, back me on that. They were my surprise team, and I went off the data of how much they dominated the second half and stealing bags, going first to third. I'm like, they're a young athletic team. They could do some damage. But nobody predicted them to be in the World Series. Who predicted the Rangers? Nobody.
Yeah, that's the beauty of this game, right? And and we're going to make our World Series. Before the year starts, the Commander, Towny, Doskow, we're going to make our predictions And obviously the Commander's going to throw it back in my face in June or July when I know, it's never about what he predicted. It's always, how did I miss it? So I guarantee Commander's going to come back at me in June and July, get on me for my picks, and I can't wait to make them. I can't wait.
I can hear now. Johnny's taking Detroit. That's their sleeper in the Central.
Wait, what was it? The White Sox?
The White Sox Cardinals World Series.
You like the White Sox? Oh my God, you like the Cardinals?
I did not say White Sox. I said Cardinals World Series. I did not say White Sox. I said White Sox made the playoffs. I did not say White Sox Cardinals World Series.
Might have been Blue Jays Cardinals World Series.
Bring back the tape. So like the memory, man.
What was the old show? The Sports Machine. Let's go to the tape.
Right.
Yeah. You like the Cardinals to win the World Series last year, huh, Johnny?
Oh man, I think Blue Jays over. I think Blue Jays over Cardinals. What I had, the truth, it didn't go well.
I don't even know who I picked.
I have them all written down somewhere. It typed up somewhere.
I
bring those out.
Didn't I pick the Rangers?
Yeah, I think you had Rangers Diamondbacks in the World Series.
What a call! What a call!
Hey, how many people picked Padres?
Oh, that was the sexy pick last year. That was the sexy pick.
Or the Mets.
Yeah.
Do you realize Senga now hurt? Like Senga's not going to throw for how long?
Yeah, he just got a PR. He's got an injection, I think. So he's going to be out for a couple of weeks. I think. Look,
hey, let's be honest. They still have the highest payroll in baseball, and they're still having this mass luxury tax hit. The Mets are. All these teams that went all in that the fans loved, right? Oh, we got Cohen's worth $16 billion. We got the Mets are going to win it every year. Look at the Padres. They're all these teams that did that were complete foldos last year.
Yeah.
At least you know with me, Johnny, Towny knows this already. Every year I pick the Astros to go to the World Series and win.
Are you picking the Astros again?
Take the Astros again this year.
Well,
there's my American League champion.
It's not a bad bet as they've been in the ALCS.
Gosh, Commander. Oh, my goodness.
Yeah. Johnny, they're in the ALCS every year.
God, you know what he's doing, Johnny? He's going to go Astros-Dodgers World Series. Watch. He's chalk.
He goes out on the limb, this guy. I'm telling you. Goes out on the limb.
No. His new thing will be the Orioles. His new thing will.
No, I'm still taking Houston.
You're still taking Houston?
It'll be Astros. Still too early. I got to see how spring training plays out. No, it will not be the Pirates. They will not be in the World Series.
By the way, the Pirates, the spring training hats. I was watching the Pirates preview on MLB Network. The Pirates spring training hats are dope.
Are they really?
Dude, they all gold with the kind of just like ours, but it's the Pirates. Is it what color? That black P? Yeah. Oh, it looks sweet, especially on Andrew McCutchen. By the way, Andrew McCutchen, one dinger away from 300.
It's impressive.
We got to get to milestones. All right, Johnny, it's time for the greatest game streaming. Know your Royals.
Johnny.
He's been hot. Johnny's on a heater right now.
Now, this is a Kansas City-based question, but I'm going to ask it anyway because this guy is a friend of the program, and he just went into the Hall of Fame a few years ago with the Ford C. Frick Award. I was a Kansas City Athletic and now am in the Baseball Hall of Fame as a broadcaster. Who am I?
Not Denny Matthews. He didn't play.
Got to be bleeping me, Johnny.
He was.
Come on,
George, bro. I can't say really.
Broadcaster.
Ford C. Frick Award is for broadcasters.
I know they are. I know they are. I'm just kind of confused. He was a Kansas City Athletic.
Yes.
Friend of this program.
And he just went in recently as the Ford C. Frick Award winner. And he played for the Kansas. He claims he's the inventor of the batting glove on the right hand. It was actually a golf glove. If you remember, he told us with the great Ray Fosse.
That's right.
He played so much golf that he had blisters, so he wore a golf glove. He claims
there are times when you draw a blank. I'm going to come back to it. I'm going to come back to it.
Stretch. You can. Lord, yes. That'd be hot.
I'll put it on the board. Yes. Yeah. It was. I
said the answer already.
Ken Hawk Harrelson.
It's Hawk Harrelson.
Hawk Harrelson. I'm sorry.
Wow, that was bad, Johnny. That was bad.
Let's see if you can redeem yourself here, Johnny.
Right.
This is a softball. I am the winningest manager in Kansas City Royals history.
And I believe he's from Sacramento.
Yes. Yeah.
Is
the Valley.
Is it Dick Hauser?
No.
No, Johnny.
More recent, Johnny. More recent. Also a friend of the program. We've had him on before.
Yes.
God, bro, I'm just mush right now.
Born in Eureka and actually went to Dublin High.
Went to Dublin High. Most wins in Royal
Beautiful Dublin. Love Dublin.
history. God, man, I don't know.
It's the great Ned Yost at 746 wins.
Ned Yost.
Johnny, not a big Royals guy.
Wow. No, your Royals is off to a tough start.
Johnny, I won 3 batting titles in 3 different decades.
George Brett, don't insult me. Go
All right, back on the board.
Softball.
2 players have been the All-Star Game MVP for the Royals. Who are they? Just name me one.
Bo Jackson.
That's one. Recently retired.
Okay.
Within the last couple of days.
Oh, last couple of days?
Yeah.
Jeremy Guthrie.
No, the Eric Hosmer.
Eric Hosmer. Okay.
Gotcha.
Okay.
But you got it right because I only said you only have to give me one.
I'll give you 2 bonus. Name the ballpark where the All-Star Game was.
Anaheim Stadium.
Anaheim. Bo Jackson hit second. It was back-to-back home runs. Who led off and hit the home run before Bo?
Oh, wow. That's a great question.
I'm coming up with my own trivia.
Man. That is a good – I don't know. Who was it?
I eat a lot of chicken.
Oh, Wade Boggs. Wow.
Boggs. It was
Wow.
Boggs.
Wow.
Boggs and Bo Jackson
chicken
went
man.
back-to-back. Off who? Oh, come on. Do you guys watch baseball in your lives? Rick Russell,
Giant
San
great.
Francisco Giant.
All right, Johnny. The Royals have had one number 1 overall pick in their history. Who did they take?
One? Was it Bobby Witt Jr.?
No, he was second, actually.
Oh, that's a trick question. George Brett just was a second rounder. He's out of the SEC, correct? If I'm thinking right. Played at Tennessee.
Yeah, that sounds right.
Yeah.
Oh, man. Who was it?
I know who it is.
It'll be the great Luke Hochhaver.
Yeah, he went to the University of Tennessee.
Yeah, nice. Okay.
All right, let's see if we can get this one, Johnny. Who did George Brett hit the home run off of during the pine tar incident?
Oh, come on.
Gossage.
There you go. Back on track. I spent 12 of my 13 major league seasons in Kansas City as a pitcher, and now I'm a major league broadcaster. Who am I?
Wonderful friend of the program. We've had him on almost as much as anybody from another team.
Teammates called him Cabana Boy.
Cabana Boy.
Well, broadcaster now, presently a broadcaster in the big leagues.
From New Jersey. That's why they call him Cabana Boy. Big, tall, strapping man.
Yeah, I just saw him last. I just saw him. I can't remember the name. I can't remember his name.
That'd be the great Mark Gubaza.
Gooby.
I don't know what's going on with me, bro.
It's all right. Who threw the last?
Did you get a good night's sleep? I mean, you said you were going to. Ever since I left, you're going to eat salads. You're going to start working
That's
out.
why the salads are why.
What the hell's going on?
Not the brain.
I need to eat worse. I think I'm eating better. My trivia's going. I don't know.
All right, Johnny, we'll give you 2 more here. Who threw the most recent Royals no-hitter?
Oh, this is tough.
The most recent?
Because, Johnny, it's not recent.
It's not recent. I'll give you the year. It was 91.
Oh, in 91. Was it Saberhagen?
There you go.
Ding, 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 ding. Isn't that hard to believe? They haven't thrown a no-hitter since 91?
Yeah.
It's crazy.
I had the walk-off hit in Game 6 of the 1985 World Series versus the Cardinals.
Ooh.
He was a pinch hitter too.
It was Dane Orge.
Yes.
Yes. Yes. Give me my Balboni though. I want to hear what you got. I said we got to come up with a Steve Balboni.
I just phrased it from the question from the thing I read, but it was like I led the Royals in home runs in 1985, which led to a legend that a team with a player hitting 36 or more home runs can't win the World Series. Who am I?
Who is Steve Balboni?
Yeah. The next guy to do it was Luis Gonzalez in 2001.
Wow.
He won the World Series. That's what someone coined it. It was a writer or something. So
there you go. Johnny
came back a little bit. That slow start. That Hawk Harrelson's going to haunt me. I won't be able to sleep tonight because that Hawk Harrelson. That's on me.
I can give you one more Kansas City Athletics question to redeem yourself.
Oh.
I was taken number 1 overall in the first
Rick Monday.
There it is. Johnny's back.
Out of
Arizona State.
Oh,
there you go. There you go. Charlie Fenley. Johnny, have a great broadcast today. And tomorrow, tomorrow it's Know Your Who tomorrow.
Well, no, on Saturday.
Oh, then who do we got?
Monday's Know Your Reds.
Know my Reds? Okay, I'll study.
I think it's the Reds we play on Monday, right? I think.
Ooh. You know one of the cool things when we were at Goodyear?
I can only ask you so many Frankie Montas questions, Johnny.
Walking into the elevator that takes you up to the luxury suites, and they had all this Johnny Bench memorabilia. Wasn't that cool?
Yeah, I love that. Love that. That's a cool little ballpark. Goodyear. I like that.
I mean, if you could get a cup of coffee, it'd be better. But other than that, I thought it was a good.
Exactly.
Yep.
Seriously, what is it about spring training? You can't find coffee or ice.
I know,
but it is the Reds on Monday, Johnny. So
goodbye, Johnny. Have a good call.
See you guys.
Johnny, know your Royals. Yeah, it's crazy. There's just no coffee. So when we were at Camelback Ranch, we had to go into this employees thing, and they had a Keurig. And we walked in, they're like, whoa, we just say, we're at the A's. Can we just get a cup of coffee? I mean, you can't get coffee. It's the morning, right?
Yeah.
We're getting there 10:30. You can't get coffee. And then the press box will have water, Coke, and Diet Coke. And that's it. It's no ice. No, it's brutal.
Real quick before we go, the Royals have had 3 Cy Young winners in their history. Can you name one of them? Or can you name all of them?
Well, Greinke.
Johnny mentioned one of them already.
Brett Saberhagen.
Oh, the other one's your guy. Should be in the Hall of Fame.
Oh, David Cone.
There you go. There's the 3 Royals. Look at you. Can't get anything by you.
The great David Cone.
Those are the 3.
And then after David Cone won the Cy Young is when the tour of him becoming the assassin that everybody would bring in. He starts getting traded, and then until he lands with the Yankees and then wins all that with the Yankees. But he was the hired gun of hired guns. Remember, he went to the Blue Jays. David Cone was the good. I love David Cone.
Well, that's going to do it for this week.
All right. Thank you, everybody, for watching and listening to A's Cast Live on A's Cast. We truly appreciate it. Have a wonderful weekend. Stay dry. It's going to be really, really wet. Good luck to everybody. It's going to be a lot of rain.
Yeah, it's supposed to rain, yeah.
But stay safe, and then we'll be back on Monday for Know Your Who.
Reds.
No, the Reds and the A's got some history, boy. A lot of history.
Know your Jeff Brantley.
Enjoy your weekend, and enjoy coming up next. It's the Athletics and the Royals right here on A's Cast and the A's Radio Network.
This is Chris Townsend. There are 2 things that are a must for me: comfort and style. Whether I'm playing golf, going to dinner, I've got to have the right feel. That's why I've partnered with Linksole, and you're going to love Linksole. They have just released their new spring line, new fabrics for their polos, lightweight and perfect for technical performance. Linksole also has new styles for their layers and hoodies with cool prints and seasonal colors. You know what they say in the big leagues: look good, play good. Go to linksole.com. That's linksole.com. This is Chris Townsend, and if you're looking for a great place to eat and watch games, go see my friends at the Chicken Pie Shop at Walnut Creek. The Chicken Pie Shop is one of the hottest restaurants in Walnut Creek. You're not going to find a better menu, and come try their world-famous chicken pie that has been served in Southern California for 86 years. Spacious indoor and outdoor dining, perfect for your next private party or corporate event. Don't forget free parking. For more information, go to chickenpieshopwc.com. That's chickenpieshopwc.com.
This has been a presentation of the Oakland Athletics.